Today's tutorial is for a free pattern from Lauren Mormino. This is the car trash bag. This pattern is really a cute pattern. It comes together really quick, and this will be the first time I'm sewing it. It has been around for a long time, and I have seen so many of these. So many people have taken it and made their own versions and hacked it and everything just because it's a great pattern and it has so many uses. I will not be using mine as a car trash bag, so I'm kind of upping it a little bit in its cuteness and making it something that I will be able to use on camping trips. I'm using materials from My Little Shindig. This is from their May monthly fabric club. Every month she sends you 6 coordinating prints. It's all with a theme. Of course, you can tell what this theme is for the month of May, and you get a recommended pattern. Tries to be a free pattern, but sometimes she'll add in something that she just really thinks will be a great fit for the fabrics. So she sends in that recommendation. If there's not a tutorial already made, I'll make one for it. But you also get in some extras. For this month, the extras are these adorable tags. They are an exclusive tag from Heartwood and Hyde. Now the tags do not come on this backing of the vinyl. I just did that so that I can make sure that the tags kind of stick out and show up really good on this print. But these are adorable tags. Only with this My Little Shindig shipment can you get these, and they are so cute. So for me, I'm having this cotton woven print for my exterior. The same coordinating print is cotton woven, and this is from My Little Shindig as well. She does have other prints that will come. If you get that subscription, it'll be included in there. We're going to talk a little bit about these pieces and how quick everything comes together. Lauren did an amazing job on this pattern. You really don't need any hardware or any extra supplies. You can just grab some fabric and go with it. That's so smart, so good, especially for those of us that want to make sure we keep sewing economical. This is a great pattern. So you can download it for free on her website. I will have the link in my description. And you will start with having a pattern piece for these handles. This is going to be the handles. Now, I have seen lots of people use webbing. You definitely could use webbing if you want, but this is a great way to make this pattern if you don't have any webbing or if you just want a little bit of an extra design feature. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to have 2 of these pieces for those handles, and I'm going to go ahead and clip them right sides together because that's how we're going to sew them. We are going to sew down the sides and the legs, but we're going to leave this top open. So we'll sew everywhere right sides together, but leaving that top portion open, and that's how we will turn it. This pattern, whenever you get the pattern, like I said, you have the pattern pieces for this, but for the main body pieces, she does not give you pattern pieces, she just gives you the measurements. This is what the main pattern piece looks like. You'll have the cutout corners there at the bottom. She tells you that you can make it wider than it is tall, or you can make it taller than it is wide. So she gives you the measurements and she says you can cut it whichever way you want, depends on how you want yours to be. I wanted mine wider. I felt like that was best for me, so that is how I cut mine. So I have 2 exteriors, and I did choose to add a layer of fleece onto my 2 exterior pieces. This is just going to give it a little extra support. I did even keep the fleece in the seam allowance. I wasn't too worried about that, but if you want, you could definitely keep it out. You could use foam, Decaville Light. You could just use a medium weight interfacing. You can make these in vinyl, whatever you wanted to do. On my lining, I'm leaving it just kind of simple with some medium weight interfacing like a SF101. The only kind of hack I'm doing for this pattern is I did cut out some mesh. Now my mesh is not the typical mesh. It's a very fine, kind of stiffer mesh. It's actually window screen. And so I did cut out 2 pieces. On my lining pieces, I am going to have slip pockets. You could have them outside too. You could have a zipper pocket on this pattern, whatever you want. But I'm going to do 2 slip pockets for my lining pieces. I'm going to use the mesh, and so I did cut out some binding. The binding, I just cut a strip from Katie's Materials. It was 2.5 inches wide, and then I just did a 4-way fold, no interfacing on it. and then I just clipped it on top of these mesh pieces. I will top stitch down this row of binding to attach it to the mesh, and then I'm just going to baste the mesh around this lining piece. Super simple, but this will help me to kind of have a little bit extra storage with this. I'm actually using these, like I said, not as a trash can, but on my camping trips. So whenever I go camping, I will be able to attach this on the picnic table. I can have in my silverware, napkins, whatever I need. If I need to put some trash in there, I can, of course. But I want it to be more of a hanging basket to keep things organized at the campsite. So that's what I'm using mine for. I have 2 of these slip pockets. I will sew the binding on first at the top and then baste those around. That'll be the first thing I do. And then I'll also go ahead and sew these handles right sides together as well. For the tags, like I said, I wanted them to stand out a little bit. I didn't want them to get too lost in the print. So I did just glue them on a back of scrap vinyl I had. I'm going to top stitch all around both of my tags. And then I'm going to attach this one to the front and this on the exterior and this one on the inside on the lining piece. So I will just center those and have them a little bit further down, not really having an exact measurement just yet, and the pattern doesn't have those on there either. So I'll probably do these steps off camera just to save the time and not waste on those details. So let's go ahead and just get started sewing right away, and just so you can see how quick and easy this pattern is. While I was cutting it out, I was already thinking of so many ways I can use this and so many people that can benefit from having this. So after I have that binding on attached, I just did 1 row of top stitching also. Mine is a little thick, so I could actually afford to do 2 rows. I'm not going to though, but just keep that in mind that you may want to for a design look, or just keep yours kind of skinny. But I'm just going to clip this slip pocket on. I made sure that I cut it exactly the way I wanted to, so it's basically just adding some clips and basting 1/8 of an inch all around that raw edge to attach these 2 pieces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to trim off the extra binding on this, and then I'm also going to complete those same steps for the other lining. I'm going to add the slip pocket, sew on the binding first, and I will turn my little handles right sides out. I'm not going to trim my handles down at all. I don't feel like they need it. I may do kind of like a snip right there in that corner to kind of help that spread, but I'm not going to trim anything down. And I'll turn this around, and then we'll come back. Probably we'll go ahead and attach my tags too while I'm off camera, just to get some of those basic steps done and prepped so that we're ready for the next things. At this point, I have the tags on an exterior lining piece. I have the slip pockets on both lining pieces trimmed down. Everything is good to go. Now this, if you just don't want to do any kind of like hacks or anything extra, this is how your pieces would start from the original pattern. So you wouldn't need these other pieces. So this is what you would start with. For the handles or the strap or the connector, whatever you want to call it, I went ahead and sewed everything around, turned it through the top, and then I took the time to press it flat. What I need to do now to this piece is I need to top stitch all the way around. Even that opening that's closed, I need to top stitch that as well, or baste it closed, I should say. And then that will have this piece ready for us to attach whenever we're ready to attach it. So I'm going to top stitch all the way around, 1/8 of an inch away on this, but also what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my 2 exterior pieces and I'm going to clip them right sides together. So what I will do is I will add some clips, and then for the exterior pieces, I'm going to sew all the way around except the top, of course, but I will sew down this side, sew down this side. I will not sew these box corners, but I will sew this bottom back stitching whenever I start and stop. That's for the exterior. For the lining piece, I will also put it right sides together. When I have it right sides together, I will sew down both of the sides with the seam allowance, given the pattern back stitching. I will again skip sewing those boxed corners, but for my lining, I will start sewing on one edge, come in a little bit, and back stitch there, and do the same on here. I will leave an opening so that I can turn. This is how I will turn this bag. Now, depending on what kind of interfacing or materials you use will depend on how big of a opening you need, how big of an opening you need to leave. For me, I'm going to leave a decent size opening because I do have mesh, I do have fleece, and I don't want too much wrinkling to happen. If you were just using a cotton woven, even no interfacing, you could definitely leave it a lot smaller. But those are the steps we're going to do now to get this bag ready to be done. It's so quick. It's almost done already. Now we have the exterior and the lining sewn right sides together. Make sure you left an opening in your lining. We have the legs top stitched, so they're ready. The next thing we need to do is we need to box the corners. So the way I like to do is I like to kind of open it up from the middle, and so it gets a really nice wide opening. I'm going to choose to butterfly my seams open. You can choose to nest yours if you want. It doesn't really matter so much. Everybody has a different preference on that. So I'm just going to open these seams up, match them, and put a clip there. And then I'm going to smooth everything really nice and flat so that I can get a really good top stitch, whenever I'm going to stitch this, I'm going to make for sure to flatten down the rest of this. That will help me to really make sure that everything looks nice and straight so that I'm not sewing it crookedly. I will start at one end, back stitch, and go all the way down to the other, sewing in a straight line, keeping that same seam allowance. This is the way that box corner looks. I'm going to repeat these same steps for the other corner on the exterior and both of the corners on the lining. After I get done with that, I'm going to turn my lining right sides out, but I'm going to leave my exterior wrong sides out. I have the lining turned right sides out. All the corners are boxed, and now it's time to do those final last steps. So my exterior is still wrong sides out. On the inside of it, I went ahead and found the centers for those strap arms and the center for the back of this bag. Now mine does have a front and back because I have a tag on it that I want to be on the front. So if you don't have a tag and if yours looks the same, it doesn't really matter. But what I did was I clipped these legs exterior sides together. So exterior to exterior. Again, if yours is the same and like the pattern tells you to use the same print, it's not going to be too big of a deal. But anyway, you're just going to clip those raw edges together. So your legs are hanging down inside. The top raw edge is clipped together with the legs inside that exterior. Now what you do is you just baste this in place. Now this is not a definite necessary step. You could skip it, but I'm just going to go ahead and baste it. I prefer to just kind of baste things in place, so it just makes it easier to sew and you have less chance of things shifting. So I have those legs basted to the back, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lining, and whatever you want your lining back to be, that is what you're going to have against your legs. I want my tag to be on the back because that's what I'll see then whenever it's hanging. I'll be able to look and see that, and that's the way I want mine to go. So I'm going to slip it in there. I'm going to have to kind of push it down a little, and I'm going to start matching up those seams, clipping everything all around. Once you have everything clipped together, you're going to sew around the perimeter of this bag with the seam allowance given the pattern. The way I'm going to do it is I'm simply going to just push that exterior, or the other side I should say, push that other side out of the way, and then go ahead and start sewing here in the middle or on the side, whatever you want. I feel like the middle is easier, the sides are a little tricky. When you start sewing, make sure you backstitch. And whenever you come up to your side, you're going to have to kind of rotate the bag and shift everything over to keep plenty of room to stitch on. You want to stitch in a straight line always, but you'll just keep rotating the bag and rolling it around till you get where you started. For me, my seams are a little thick because I did keep the fleece in the seam allowance, and I also have mesh in there as well, so I'll just go slow. Make sure I don't lose the seam allowance whenever I'm going over that thickness. Once you have that sewn together, you are going to go inside your openings in there, and I'm going to start slowly getting this pulled out and start turning this bag right sides out. This bag is so cute, and it's really a lot bigger than I thought. Now what I'm going to do, I haven't closed this opening in the lining yet, and so I'm just sticking my hand in there, and I'm going to go ahead and use that ability to press out these seams. I do, like I said, have fleece in mine. Mine's definitely thick. Not a problem at all. I don't care. I like it like that. It saves a little bit of time to be able to keep the fleece in the seam allowance whenever I am cutting and interfacing. So I'm just going to go around the bag now, push that out. Once I get this all pushed out, then I'll go ahead and close up the opening, and then we're going to top stitch around this bag. Now whenever we top stitch, we'll do that about 1/8 of an inch away, and I will just do it from the interior side because I think it'll be just fine. My thread is white too, so it's not even a contrasting thread. Now the last thing you'll need to decide is how you're going to have your handles, your little legs, to close on your bag. For me, I'm going to choose to use a rivet magnetic snap. The pattern tells you you can sew on Velcro. I also know that people do cam snaps, and I've even seen that some people will sew in a little bit of webbing into the ends of their legs and make these be able to close with those side release buckles. So there's so many options to how to do it. Honestly, you could probably, even if you like to sew buttonholes, you could even have a button and kind of close it that way. Lots of different ways to do it. I'm clipping this seam down with my strap handles, but I will not sew it with it down. I'll pull it up when I sew it. I'm just having them kind of clipped to kind of help those seams lay flat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of poke out these corners. Mine are a little stiff, and I am going to use that to push in the bottom of this seam to make sure that I get that folded edge, the raw edges, to go in so I can close up this opening. So now that I have that lining clip closed, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to close up that opening. I'm going to slide my foot right there a little bit before where the opening starts, back stitch, and just close everything up. So now that I have that opening closed, I'm going to slip it back inside and push it, and then we will just top stitch around the top. So like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these clips because I'm going to have this, whenever I'm sewing, my legs are going to be pulled up and I'm going to be sewing with them up. So I just kind of wanted the clips to kind of help fold it in place, but that's definitely how I'm going to sew it. I'm going to start here. Actually, I'm going to start a little more to the side on this one. Right about there. I'm going to be top stitching 1/8 of an inch away. I'm going to back stitch when I start and stop. Going to go slow. I definitely don't want to mess up whenever I'm top stitching this last little bit. I just made my first car trash bag from Lauren Mormino, and I'm already planning which ones I'm going to make next. This is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I hate that it's called a car trash bag because I think it deserves to be called something way more fancy. This is super cute. I can think of so many different ways to use this. I love it. Look at the shape. I did use fleece. Look at that structure. I will use fleece in all of mine. I will not change that. The handles, I still need to put my magnetic snaps, so make sure you either sew on snaps, you sew on Velcro, you add snaps, cam snaps, whatever you want to do. You could even do magnetic snaps before you sewed it. That's an option too, if that's what you have. Super, super great shape. Look at the fabric and the tags. That is just adorable. I love it. Look how open that is. My mesh pockets are perfect. I have the other tag inside there. I am in love. How is something this simple this cute? I can think of so many ways to use this. I can just really, I can see myself becoming addicted. And I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of people sell these at craft shows. I just never really, I guess, thought about it much. But once you sew one, it's kind of like obsessive. It's like, oh, let's make all of these. I'm going to have the link for this pattern. It is a free pattern in my description. I'm also going to have a link for the add-ons, which are free as well. I'll have a link for where you get the fabric. Katie does do retail after, and it's a limited amount of retail, but she does do retail for her fabric club kits afterwards. So you could get this again even if you're not a member of the fabric club. I do not know if she will have any of the extra tags. If she does, I'm definitely buying more. These are so cute. So anyway, thank you so much for watching another one of my tutorials. And I hope today in your sewing room you're able to make something that surprises you with how much you fall in love with it after you step back and look at it and finish it, and you immediately want to make more. Thank you so much for watching. You have a great day.